Hey guys, this is Dan with Adventuring Today, and I am going to do my very first review of a car. And so this is a vehicle that we unfortunately are driving for 2 weeks. So this is like an extended test drive because our brand new 2018 Ford Expedition was rear-ended after we owned that truck for about 300 miles. Still have the temporary tags on it, and it's taken about 2 weeks to get the thing repaired. So anyway, I thought I would do a review on this vehicle since it's such a close competitor to the Expedition we have. When I get the truck back next week, I'll do another one, just kind of comparing and contrasting the two vehicles. So this is a 2018 Suburban LT. I rented this from Enterprise. They've been great to work with. What does this product or this car have on it as far as tires go? These are the 18-inch tires. They are 265, 65, 18. And I'm starting with showing you what kind of tires it has in it, because one of the things I like the most about this vehicle is the ride. The damping on this SUV is great. They did a fantastic job of giving you a ride that's very similar to something with an air suspension, at least as close as it can be, with just a regular traditional shock absorber, and the damping is fantastic on it. It's got just a really smooth ride. It tracks straight down the highway. I did a trip to Kansas City and back this week, and it's so easy to drive on the highway. On that trip, I averaged about 18 miles to the gallon. I'd say it was probably 85% highway driving and 15% running appointments, but pretty happy with that kind of gas mileage. And so this is the truck. A couple things that I like and don't like about it. So let's start with maybe something that I'm not a big fan of, and that is the back end here. So I just got back from my son's baseball practice, and you can see how this stroller has already scooted from where we started, which was up here, and it's worked its way down. This is a downward sloping storage area. It's got 3 rows. This is the 3rd row. That's the 2nd row, and then you get the front seats. But this actually slopes downwards. I went to the grocery store this morning at about 5:30, and on my way back, I put everything over here. It was dark out, and when I opened up this hatch, a whole bunch of bags started just falling out, and I had to catch them. And there were eggs and glass milk jugs and all kinds of stuff in there. You know, that is not a good design. It doesn't need to be downward sloped. I think Ford has put a little lip right here that kind of ramps up to prevent things like that happening. And with the way that this storage area is sloped, it actually encourages things to fall out of the car. There's no way you could keep a ball in there or a baseball bat. It's just going to roll right out. Anything that's sitting outside that rolls, like maybe the glass ketchup containers or mayonnaise jars and things like that, they're just rolling out and they're going to crash on the concrete. So you got to be really careful. I don't know how you go grocery shopping with a whole SUV full of kids and buying a week's worth of groceries when you've got a back end that does this. Like, you should have to use the netting or something to protect that. So that's a little bit of a nitpick that I have. I think part of the reason why there's a slope, is my guess, is because this truck does not have an independent rear suspension. It's got a big hump in the back it needs to overcome that you don't have in the Ford products. I think another thing that's a little bit of a nitpick is that there is just not a lot of legroom back here. So I've got my seat positioned to where I would normally have it, and that's showing about 6 inches of legroom on this truck. So you can see where our car seat is and where my wife likes to have her seat. And the kids' legs are just kicking up against that car seat all the time. So the other problem with this is that if I want to get my other kids, I've got 4 kids, if I want to get them in the back seat, look at this. This will not go down. It just, I mean, I don't even know if a kid can do that. And, then you can't even pull this up all the way with where I've got my car seat. So it doesn't give you any advantage to get into the back seat. It's just not a real good design. So let's jump into the front area here a little bit. couple things that there's a couple things I don't like about the vehicle. A couple things that I think probably could be improved on are, look at all these scratches here. Now this vehicle has about 7,000 miles on it, and you know, of course I'm not the only driver, and yes, rental cars are kind of abused, but look at all those scratches from putting your seatbelt on. There's something really, you know, cheap about that plastic. But the dashboard is actually, you know, pretty nice. It's got a great design to it. All these features work really well. The navigation system works fantastic. You can actually enter in a house number, a street name, a city, and state all at the same time, and 99% of the time it recognizes it. I'll tell you, the Audi that I recently had, I'd say that percentage was probably 95% of the time. My wife used to have this Mercedes that was just absolutely a horrible experience. We'll never do that again. It never got the addresses correct. This vehicle does a really, really good job of getting the addresses inputted the very first time. And if there has been a couple times where it hasn't worked, but then it has you break down the address in smaller pieces right away, so that it can easily, and I've never had a problem getting an address entered into this navigation system, which is a lot more than you can say about other systems. This also has really nice and easy controls for the rear seat, or the rear cabin. With this button, you can hand over rear control to the folks in the back, or you can take over as the parent up here in front. So the design is really pretty nice. I'm a pretty tall guy, about 6'6". I've got plenty of room up here. And over here is the headlights. You know, typical, it's got an auto position, which is where I have it. Here's where you control two-wheel drive, auto, or four-wheel drive. I test drove, or I rented a Tahoe a couple weeks ago up in Minneapolis, and we got about 6 inches of snow. And the four-wheel drive system actually works really good in this. Whether you have it in auto or just full-time four-wheel drive, it's actually a really sophisticated system. There's no clunking. Everything is really smooth. It works great. One thing to be aware of is that the windshield washer fluid reservoir is small. It's maybe a third of a gallon or a half a gallon is what my guess is. I rented a car up there for 2 days, and I had to buy my own 1 gallon container of windshield washer fluid because I was running out. And with that, it got down to about -3 one morning. And I'm driving to my very first appointment, and sure enough, that windshield washer fluid froze up. So I don't know where it's positioned in the vehicle, but wherever it is really susceptible to cold temperatures. So anyway, you know, overall, it's been a pretty good experience. The vehicle has got a nice leather interior, and this is the LT. You can go up a notch in you know, sophistication with features and so forth. It does have lane departure warning. It will help steer you in the lane a little bit. The cruise control works great. You can also control your accident avoidance feature on that, and it's got memory for the seats and so forth. In the videos that I'm going to link to the end of this little commentary, you'll get to see a little bit more of an analysis on the performance of the drivetrain, where it does a great job on fuel mileage, but it's not overly refined. So stay tuned to listen to more of that. Thank you so much.
I know this video is not perfect because of the sun glare right now, but to give you an idea of what's going on with this motor, the transmission, I'm going to put my foot down maybe 10 or 15% and watch what happens. And it just doesn't accelerate that fast. It really works. Again, and it's exchanging torque for horsepower. There it goes again. And that's not even with me flooring the motor. So if I did that, it would sound like this. So it's from a daily driving perspective, it is not the best driving experience. If you're really interested in the driving experience that you get out of any vehicle that you drive, like I do, I love a refined motor, and transmission that are just married well together, that fit the dynamic of the vehicle, whether it's a pickup truck or an SUV or a sporty sedan or even a sports car. You know, having that refinement figured out just really changes the driving dynamic for me. So although I do like a lot of features on this Suburban, this 2018 Suburban, the engine and transmission combo for me would be a deal breaker, because you know, during this extended rental time period, I'm you know, I'm living with it, but it would just wear on me in driving this around all the time, full time, for say 100,000 miles, because it just isn't that refined. It's a technology that has been leapfrogged by the competition, and where maybe 4 or 5 years ago this was acceptable, today it's just not, because there's better options out there in the marketplace. Okay, so now we're going to do a normal acceleration run. So this would be just like what I do about 1 million times a day. And the RPMs shifted about 3,000 RPMs from first to second, and then about the same thing from second to third. And that got me up to about 40 miles per hour. Want to see a pretty cool feature of this Suburban? Check this out. That is cool. There is a huge area in here of hidden storage. It's got a, you can see this, it's got a place to plug in USB right there. See that little spot right there? USB plug-in. Great hidden storage. A lot of people don't know this exists. Push the button again and it disappears. Awesome. Hey guys, this is Dan. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how the navigation system works on this 2018 Chevrolet Suburban. So right now I've got an address plugged into the GPS system. You can see that, what that looks like right here. Hopefully the lighting's okay. But I've got an address typed in. So now I'm gonna vocally enter a new address. So here we go. I'm gonna hit the voice control button and we'll get it started. You can see how good this works.
Say a command or say help.
Find an address.
Please say cancel route guidance or say destination.
Destination.
Say the address including city and state, starting with the house number, if available.
1700 Valley West Drive, West Des Moines, Iowa.
One 700 Valley West Drive, West Des Moines, Iowa. Is that correct?
Yes.
When it is safe to do so, look to the radio display to complete your selection.
Now you just come over here to the navigation screen, you push the word go, and now it's going to ask you what you want to do with this new destination. Do you want to set it as a new destination, or do you want to set it as a waypoint? I'm going to set this as a waypoint because this is an address to a grocery store that I need to go to before I get to my final destination. So anyway, navigation system works pretty good. I wanted to give you a real life example of what that looks like, and stay tuned for more. Thank you very much. You know, part of the challenge with this driveline on the Suburban is, you know, you've got any kind of a hill and it wants to downshift 2 gears. And then when it does that, you don't even get a great response out of the engine. It's clearly an underpowered motor. And so since there's not quite enough torque in the engine, it's going to higher revs to try to grab some horsepower to generate some acceleration. But you know, here I am cruising along at about 50 miles per hour. We're in, that's got to be 5th gear right now. And I put my foot down maybe a quarter of the way down, and it jumps to 3,000 RPMs, the engine revs, and you get some decent acceleration, but the engine just feels like it's working so hard to generate any sort of power at all. And it is just not quite as refined, or I think suffering from probably just an older school transmission compared to these transmissions that are out today, where you have multiple gears, they shift a lot quicker, a lot smoother, and they deliver just a much better driving experience. So I would say that's probably a little bit of a knock on this vehicle. And with that, we'll work on a few other things that we can share with you.
Hey guys, so that wraps up my analysis of the 2018 Suburban LT. I've been lucky enough over the past couple weeks to actually have rented 3 of those vehicles, all 2018s, all LTs, and it's been a really great experience. I know I could have gone over some more features on that truck, but I tried to highlight the daily use of the truck, how kids would function in it, how you would use technology. For those of you that like to drive, how the engine, the transmission function, a little bit on miles per gallon. Be sure to check out my video on that where I did a mile per gallon challenge on that truck. So it's been a really good experience with it overall. There's always a couple things I wish were a little bit different about every vehicle that I own and operate, but I'd say the Chevy Suburban has been a pretty darn good vehicle. It's obviously very popular in the marketplace, and Chevrolet has developed a reliable, very efficient vehicle. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that analysis, and have a good day, and make sure you subscribe, like our video, and share with all your friends. Thank you very much.